Happy Friday. It is a Red Friday. Chiefs 49ers on Sunday. Must win for KU tomorrow. K-State, a big road game tomorrow. Football Friday here on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for being with us on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online worldwide at 580WIBW.com. And a welcome to those of you joining us watching our video stream. You can find it on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also see it on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Wrzinski, Spencer Dupuis, the whole gang will be with you this afternoon. And however you are checking out the show today, we appreciate you being along for the show. Lots of football to discuss. As I mentioned, it is a Red Friday. Feels like we've been forever since we've had one of those because, of course, the last time the Chiefs played, it was on a Monday. So we had a Red Monday. We got a Red Friday today on 580 Sports Talk. Chiefs, 49ers in Santa Clara, Super Bowl LVIII rematch. We're going to break it down. We'll have our keys to the game. We'll have our predictions. And we'll hear from our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. Matt will join us bottom of this hour. We will get his thoughts on how the Chiefs match up against the 49ers and his thoughts on all things Chiefs coming up at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. Plenty of college football to talk about today as well. As I mentioned, it's a must-win for KU. They are just about out of mulligans. If they want to make a bowl, they got to go 5-1 or better in the second half of this season, and it would behoove them to get the easiest of the 6 on paper, which is Saturday at home against Houston. KU's a 5-point favorite. We'll talk a little bit about that one. That's a 2:30 kickoff on ESPN Plus at what I do not expect to be a jam-packed Arrowhead Stadium. You've also got K-State on the road on Saturday as well for a second straight week, a night game away from home for K-State. They go to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. That is a 6:30 kickoff on FS1. You can listen to that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pregame coverage of the K-State Sports Network starting at 4:30 ahead of that 6:30 kickoff. We will break those games down later on in the show. Also, plenty to discuss for week number 8 of the college football season, week number 7 of the NFL season. We'll get into some of the bigger matchups this week on both the college and pro gridirons. And, of course, we'll have our 580 Sports Talk picks presented by Prairie Sportsbook, our ongoing season-long picks contest where we pick college and pro games against the spread. And I'll tell you this, I've got a wild card pick today. I chickened out of an even wilder one, but a really wild out there pick today for my wild card. That's coming up later on. We'll do that at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk picks contest. Plus all the other stuff you've come to know and love from a Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll do headlines top of the 5 o'clock hour. We will crown a weekly champion on what is wrong with you. We'll do a little change my mind, have on second thought to end the 4 o'clock hour. We are with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we will hand things over to high school football coverage. So we'll be handing things over to me for more of me. Hope you like me. A lot of me tonight here on 580 WIBW. I've got the game tonight, the Lewis Toyota 580 Preps Game of the Week. It's not just me. Greg Akagi and Spencer Dupuis will join me on the broadcast from Hayden Field as the Hayden Wildcats take on the Perry Lecompton Cause. Our first look at Bill Arnold's bunch this year. They can clinch a 3A District 4 championship with a win tonight. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock. We'll have the 580 Preps Coaches Club. You'll hear from all of the other city head football coaches ahead of their games, or in Highland Park head coach Jermaine Monroe's case, you'll hear from him following a win last night for the Scots. They played a Thursday night game at Hummer Sports Park last night, blasted Kansas City East 70-0. So we'll hear from the 7 other city head football coaches, and we'll hear from Bill Arnold on the pregame show, the Lewis Toyota 580 Preps Game of the Week. Hayden and Perry Lecompton tonight from Hayden Field here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Before we get into the fun stuff today, want to do two things real quick. First, remind you that your participation is both invited and encouraged. You can jump into the YouTube live chat and participate as you watch the show live on YouTube. Again, our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. A great way to become a part of the conversation. Jump on in and interact with your fellow listeners and also interact with your host throughout the show. We also have the Top City Metal Supply text line at 785-272-9429, the Top City Metal Supply text line. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leave you with unnecessary leftovers. Top City Metal Supply will cut exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel tailored to your project's specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. Again, the text line number is 785-272-9429. So that's how you can be a part of the show today. Dan, the Corn Man, has it exactly right. Yeah, just jump on into the live chat. Welcome, Dan. Welcome to Mark as well. Welcome to everybody who will interact with us in the YouTube live chat today. So that's how you get involved. Here's how you can go to Europe. We're still giving away or registering people to win the 10-day ultimate European vacation on our website, 580wibw.com. But today is the last day. These are the last three keywords that we're going to give you, word of the hour, that you go enter at 580wibw.com. You go to that page, you click on the link on the top left that says enter to win a trip to Europe. This hour's keyword, Brendan, should I do it in a terrible Aaron Rodgers impersonation?
Oh, I know exactly what the word is now. That gave it away.
Relax. RELAX. Relax is the keyword this hour. You have until 4 o'clock to go to 580wibw.com and enter that keyword to register to win the 10-day ultimate European getaway. We'll have two other keywords in the 5 o'clock or the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock hour. And then we have no more keywords. You're either registered or you're not. And we hope you win. You can't all win. Only one person wins. And then they and a +1 are going to Europe. But we hope it's you. You, the person listening to this. All right. That's show business. Let's get into our Football Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We began with the Super Bowl 58 rematch set to take place at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. It's the Chiefs and the 49ers. The Chiefs have had the 49ers number. They have beaten them 3 times. In the last 3 meetings, the Chiefs have beaten them. That was a Super Bowl. That was a regular season game, the Super Bowl 54. It was a regular season game in 2022, and it was a Super Bowl last year. The Chiefs have won all of those games. And coming into this matchup, Mitch Holthus, I thought, laid it out really well yesterday because it's something we talked about throughout the week. And we had voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, on yesterday's show. He joined us in the 5 o'clock hour number 3 yesterday. And I asked him the question that we were kind of noodling on a little bit earlier this week. How are the 49ers compared to the team that the Chiefs beat in February of this year in Las Vegas? And Mitch said, well, they might be better on offense even without Christian McCaffrey because they're still able to run the ball. They are making big plays down the field. Their receivers, their tight end George Kittle have been very good. Brock Purdy's maybe playing his best football. They may have upgraded the line. Your guy, Brendan, Dominic Pooney, is having a whale of a rookie season at right guard.
He has saved their offensive line. He himself has done it.
It's not an exaggeration.
Because other than Trent Williams, they had nothing. There were no above or even at average players on that line other than Trent Williams. And Trent Williams is probably a Hall of Famer, but you can't make an entire offensive line out of one player, especially on the edges. So, no, Pooney saved I'll temper it a little bit. He saved the functionality of that offensive line this year.
That's a good way to put it. So they might, in some ways, even without the best running back in the league when he's healthy and Christian McCaffrey, they might be in some ways better on offense, but they are substantially worse, perhaps, on defense, and they are a mess on special teams. So probably you average it out, they're not better than the team that the Chiefs beat in overtime in Super Bowl 58, where the Chiefs are probably about the same level of football team. They have some of the same issues when it comes to wide receiver depth though fewer of the drop issues that plagued the Chiefs throughout the year. Offensive line play, maybe a little worse at left tackle, but really solid everywhere else. A better run game right now, at least in terms of overall efficiency, even without Isaiah Pacheco, and a defense that is still performing at the high level that it performed at towards the end of last year and into the playoffs. So that would seem to give an edge to the Chiefs in this game, as would the idea that it's Andy Reid off a bye. And Andy Reid's teams historically have been really, really good coming off of buys. I believe they lost coming off the bye last year, though, if I remember correctly. I know they lost the opener, which had been really rare for an Andy Reid team to lose with that much lead time to prepare.
The Kadarius Toney game, as it is not affectionately known. Even if the most recent one was a loss, whatever the most recent loss was.
It was. They lost to the Eagles on Monday Night Football out of the bye.
Out of the bye, yeah, that's right.
And just like this game, a Super Bowl rematch.
Just like this game comes in the same week that features, or a week after, a Nick Sirianni tantrum at fans. So that's interesting to note. 21-4. That's the record.
21-4 all time.
21-4 following bye weeks. Andy Reid. In the regular season. That does not include Super Bowls.
You would be hard pressed to take like any random sample of 25 football games and have there be a commonality in them, and the end result is the team is 21-4. That's exceptional. That points to a level of success that no other coach coming off of a bye is able to match. Flip side of this, it is a road game. It is going to be a very motivated 49ers team who has not been able to take the measure of the Chiefs in recent memory. And just mentioned, the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl rematch last year, and they lost it at home. Although if Marquez Valdes-Scantling could have caught an over-the-top ball late in that game, they probably win.
They certainly win.
So that is all in mind as we get ready to break down this contest. And we'll start with our keys to the game. And I'll give you my first key. Neither of these teams has been very good in the red zone this year. Kansas City is 29th best in the NFL, which is to say fourth worst at finishing drives that go into the red zone with touchdowns. Fourth worst in the NFL, 29th best. San Francisco, not all that much better, 25th best at finishing with a touchdown in the red zone. And now both of these teams have top 10 offenses when it comes to offensive possessions that get into the red zone. San Francisco's second in the league at that. The Chiefs are seventh. So both teams capable of driving the football. Neither team has been particularly great in the red zone. So whichever team is better in the red zone is probably going to have an advantage in this game. And something else to consider, Jake Moody, the regular kicker for the 49ers, not likely to make it to Sunday.
No, it sounds like it is going to be former Green Bay Packer Anders Carlson who gets the call.
Yes, because the kicker they signed last week got hurt.
Yes.
So they're on their third kicker in 3 weeks. That is probably a situation where a team is going to be less reliant on, well, it's 4th and 2. Let's try a 50-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lean on our kicker a little bit. Let's take the points. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to be in the kind of mood to take points with the kicker off the street this week. And that means the Chiefs are going to have to play the same kind of football game. We know Andy Reid is loath to historically, but they might have their hand forced a little bit if the 49ers are able to extend some drives with some aggressive fourth down decision-making and fourth down execution. Now, the Chiefs defense will certainly have their say in that regard, but red zone and game theory on the plus side of the field, that is my first key to the game. The Chiefs have to match/exceed the 49ers in that department.
I'm going to say at least slightly disagree with Mitch. And I mean, Mitch knows Chiefs football better than anyone. And the research he puts in every week is remarkable. I don't think the 49ers are a very good running team, at least not to the degree that, it's a Shanahan running back. Like, doesn't matter. Shanahan team, they're fine. They are 15th in the NFL in rush success rate this year. They are right dead in the middle of the pack. You know where they've really sucked at it? Red zone. Last season, to further your point, Dan, last season, the 49ers had the best red zone touchdown rate in the NFL, 68%. So that's not all drives. That's just red zone drives, 68%. This year, 25th. 44.4% this year. What did they have all last year? They have barely had it all this year. What did they do? Oh, yeah. The best running back in the NFL. Second best if you're a fan of the big boys and Derrick Henry.
Not barely. They've never had him.
That's right. He didn't play week 1, did he? No. So they have not had him all season. And that's your difference maker. They do not run the ball nearly as effectively. Their wide receivers have not picked up the slack, and that's great. George Kittle's having a great start to the year. You know what he is? Fragile. Is that what you want to build your offense on? So I actually think this team has taken a significant step backward over the course of this season so far. That's going to bring me to the key I'm going to go with number 1 here. I called it complementary defense, and it's going to sound really obvious, and I understand that. You're going to roll your eyes. It's so obvious when I say that the pass rush and the coverage units need to play successfully in tandem with one another. Again, that sounds like a very much no-duh thing. But Brock Purdy, number 1 in the NFL in time to throw this year. The time between snap into the quarterback's hands and releasing of the ball. The most time of anyone in the NFL this year. So you've got to throw him off rhythm. Additionally, against zone defenses, he has been great. Top 3 in the NFL in terms of success against zone defenses this year. Against man coverage, pretty pedestrian. Middle of the pack, if not slightly below the league mean or the league average so far this year. So you've got to go win those one-on-ones if you're the Chiefs. Find a way to create extra pressure on him and find a way to win on the back end. And I think the Chiefs are uniquely built to be able to do that because, A, they've got the best package of zone blitzes in the NFL, or any kind of blitz in the NFL. Maybe Brian Flores of the Vikings is up there near Spags, but Spags has been doing it for so long. They know how to create extra pressures that leaves those one-on-ones deep. No corner tandem is playing better right now than Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, which is awesome to say because we didn't even know that Watson was going to start. We expected it was going to be Joshua Williams, who started at CB2 this year for the Chiefs. So I think Kansas City is uniquely built to be able to hold up in those situations, but you've got to win those matchups more often than not on the back end, and you have got to actually get those pressures to count when you get there. We talked about that earlier this week, right? Converting pressures to sacks. This is the kind of week where you need to convert at least into hits. You at least have to hit Purdy, knock him off rhythm, allow those guys on the back end to make some plays.
He's played really well this year in rhythm, but he like any quarterback, it tends to have a tougher time if you're right in his face. And the Chiefs kind of proved that last year in the Super Bowl. And I suspect they'll have some similar things drawn up on defense this week. My second key to the game on Sunday. Do you remember George Kittle's stat line from Super Bowl 58?
He barely did anything.
2 catches for 4 yards.
And one very embarrassing mic'd up highlight.
Yes, one viral moment that he probably wishes wasn't viral. When he tried to be cute and say hi to George Karlaftis during a play where there was a live ball on the field behind him that his team did not recover. Yes, that is what he is best known for from Super Bowl 58. He is best known from Super Bowl 54 for being called for an offensive pass interference at the end of the first half. I say that to say this. George Kittle's career numbers in the regular season against Kansas City, pretty good. His numbers in the big games, not so much. And this year, with Brandon Ayuk having struggled to get traction after he missed all of training camp, and Deebo Samuel having been banged up a little bit to the point where he's still on their injury list, he's still limited in practice, and he's missed a game this year, Kittle's been a massive part of the San Francisco passing game early this season. Early this year, the Chiefs have had some problems against tight ends. Remember, that was a source of consternation early on, really the first 4 games of this season, that the Chiefs were not handling tight ends in coverage very well. This is not the kind of tight end you can afford to lose track of and have a big game against you. So keeping George Kittle in check, limiting him in the same way that he has been limited in the Super Bowls against the Chiefs, I think it'd go a long way toward a Chiefs victory.
Second key for me in Sunday afternoon's contest with your offense, Kansas City, attack the middle of the field. And I mean the middle as in between the hashes, but also that 10 to 20 yard mark downfield. You say short is less than that, long is beyond that, the intermediate parts of the field. The 49ers linebacker core, absolutely awful. And that's with the best linebacker in the NFL. Devondre Campbell is unplayable right now, and the 49ers don't have any depth, so they have to play him right now. He is playing some of the worst football of anybody in the NFL at the linebacker position. Their safety room, you've mentioned it over the course of the week. No Talanoa Hufanga. He's injured. He will not be able to go in this game. So that room, already not great, it is depleted as well. This is a good time to work that running game, the interior running game. Sometimes you just got to slam it straight forward, rely on Tooney, Humphrey, Smith to create some push for you up front. This can be a 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of game because against this 49ers team, that is where you run into the traditional school of thought. You go short run, wear him down, boom, big run. That is what you are looking for in this game, and I think the Chiefs are built, and the 49ers, consequentially, are not built this way to withstand that kind of offensive attack. I think the same thing goes when you're throwing the ball down the field. If Juju Smith-Schuster is indeed able to go, this feels like another game that could be primed for him, attacking that 10 to 20-yard mark down the field, take advantage of a team that's been weakened by injured safeties and just abysmal and injured linebacker play over the course of the year. I think you can win and you can neutralize their strengths, which are that edge pass rush, which is their cornerback room, right? Charvarius Ward on one side, Nick Bosa rushing the passer. Neutralize those by using the run game in the middle of the field, in between the hash marks, and attacking about 10 to 20 downfield. I think Juju and Kelsey should be your top targets in that regard.
Good news on Juju Smith-Schuster, by the way, earlier today from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid. Sounds like he was back to practice today after he had been limited yesterday. Popped up on the participation report with a hamstring. Apparently, it was just a spasm. They've got it calmed down. He'll be listed as questionable, but Andy Reid sounded pretty confident that Juju is going to be able to go.
Why did we get rid of probable? There was no point to that. Questionable. Everybody's questionable, man.
Yeah. Day to day. Aren't we all day to day?
Jeez Louise.
Those are our keys to the game. We'll take a quick break, give you our predictions and our big Chief picks for this Sunday afternoon's affair. Again, it's a 3:25 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. You can hear the broadcast right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Mitch Holtis, Dana Hughes, Josh Klingler, Art Haynes. Pregame coverage starting at 2 o'clock ahead of that kickoff from Santa Clara. Matt Derrick will also join us in about 10 minutes or so. So we got a lot of Chiefs coming up in hour number 1 of this Red Friday on 580 Sports Talk. 3:31. We're just getting started here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer kicking it with you on this Football Friday, this Red Friday edition of the program. Matt Derrick's going to join us in just a little bit. But first, it's time to make our predictions for this Sunday afternoon's contest between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. According to our friends at Prairie Sportsbook in Mayetta, the Chiefs are an underdog for the first time this season. They are 1.5-point underdogs. The total is 47. Brendan, what do you got? Give me your big chief and a prediction for this one.
I will go with Chris Jones as my big chief. I believe it was on the Mina Kimes podcast, the Mina Kimes show this week, where she said she believes that a good Chris Jones performance this week means he runs away with Defensive Player of the Year. There are some, if you are into the advanced numbers, the metrics, there are some charts out there that pretty much indicate Chris Jones this season is playing like peak Aaron Donald. And that's not like last season of Aaron Donald's career or the injured seasons. No, like Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. That's what Chris Jones is playing like
because
this year.
He's facing difficult assignments. He's facing a lot of double teams, triple teams, and he's still wrecking shop.
And here's the thing. Chris Jones freelances. No one on the Chiefs is allowed to freelance except for Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones. Travis Kelce, a little bit, but he still kind of gets yelled at sometimes. Chris Jones is just going to walk up to the line, point at who he wants, and eat them alive. And it will never be Williams. It will never be Pooney, and he will just eat the other three alive. So I think he has a big game. I think the Chiefs win a low-scoring affair, 23-19.
So he is on the Chiefs to cover and the under. Spencer, who you got, and who's your big chief?
Well, the Chiefs haven't lost a game this year, so I got to stay on the Chiefs this week. 31-27, the final.
A lot of points.
Yeah, it would obviously go the over. And I got Xavier Worthy. I think they're finally going to open him up again.
I think they have to.
A couple of times. I think he's going to have a couple of touchdowns.
Wow. Calling 2 TDs. Wonder what kind of odds you get for that. A multi-TD
that I don't
game
have the money to spend on.
Rookie wide receiver. Hey, look, you could earn some spending money, I bet. You put down just a couple bucks on
I could, but we know
plus touchdowns for Xavier Worthy.
We know my my looks this year. Not great so far.
Yeah, you're underwater in the picks contest. This is true. So I'm picking the 49ers this week. I am picking the Chiefs to cover. It's a little bit mealy-mouthed, but I can't pick the Chiefs to win every week. I can't sit here at the end of the year and be like, yeah, I picked the Chiefs all 17 weeks. They're going to probably lose some football games this year, right? I think that they will probably not go 17-0. And this feels like one where they get tripped up, where their lack of offensive explosiveness, where their difficulties in the red zone maybe bite them just a little bit against an offense that has been very proficient down the field, that has gotten a big year from their tight end, which is still a bit of a weakness for this Chiefs defense. They're going to be at home. They're going to be fired up. We've seen the Chiefs lose games, regular season games, to equivalent opponents who've been a little bit more cranked up for these games than the Chiefs have been. I think it happened to them a little bit against the Eagles at home last year in the Super Bowl rematch. I think it happens again, but I am taking the Chiefs to cover. So make of that what you will. 21-20 49ers. My big chief, and this is a nod to last year's Super Bowl prediction where I said, hey, the Chiefs really got a lot out of McCole Hardman last time they played the 49ers in the regular season. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to use him again in the Super Bowl. And they used him once, and it was to win the freaking game.
By the way, real quick, Spencer, if you wanted to bet, you can bet this at Prairie Band Sportsbook. At least 2 touchdowns scored. Xavier Worthy plus 1,300. $100 down, wouldn't you over $1,000? $1,300.
Yeah, there you go.
You want to put $10 down? That's $130.
Yeah,
in your
$10,
pocket.
130. That's a new pair of sneakers.
There you go.
I would probably not bet that.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to,
see, you guys
if you wanted to.
Now you're giving me better financial decisions there. You're trying to help me there. You're like, I wouldn't do it.
So I am on the under, but I am on the Chiefs to cover. Mahomes is an underdog. Is usually a winning proposition. You know, he loves being an underdog, but the Chiefs aren't going 17-0.
No.
And this feels like a week where maybe they stumble and fall to 5-1. So I'll be the guy. I'll be the first one this year to pick against the Chiefs. Brings me no joy to do it, but I can't pick him to go 17-0. I'm trying to be realistic. We're going to take a break. We'll see what Matt Derrick thinks, our Chiefs insider. He joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's go to Kansas City, shall we? We welcome in our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, Chiefs beat writer for ChiefsDigest.com. You can find his work at that website. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Derrick, and you can hear him on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline right here every Friday on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, how was your bye week?
Not too bad. I mean, I wish I was always more productive and everything, but you know, you gotta get some things done, and you gotta grind up for the second half of the season because there's no off times the rest of the way, Dan. It's just one week after another.
You know, Matt, counterpoint to that, it is a grind all year. The NFL is a 52 weeks, 365 days a year business. You shouldn't be productive on the off week. You should absolutely do nothing, in my opinion, on the bye week.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, the bye week for me during the season, at least, you know, off season, you know, hey, you get weekends sometimes off. You know, there's some periods of time you get these things done. I mean, you get yard work done. I mean, it's like, okay, I did not get I mean, there weren't any leaves to rake yet. It's not fall yet. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do when the yard's full of leaves and branches. What am I supposed to do? There's no downtime.
Well, I'm also glad, frankly, that there are no leaves down yet. I don't think I'm going to complain too much, although it is weird that it's still like 95 degrees in mid-October, but that's a story for scientists or someone else. As for the Kansas City Chiefs, Matt, as we head into this matchup against the San Francisco 49ers this weekend, we know Juju is a little bit banged up, but sounds like he'll probably be good enough to go on Sunday. Is what he did last time out repeatable? And I don't necessarily mean 130 yards. I mean, if he can do that, great, awesome, but just in terms of how big of a part of the game plan he was, is that something that he can repeat or maybe even repeat regularly as opposed to just a couple of times a season?
Well, and even the hamstring spasm in the last day or so is kind of rings up that question, you know, hey, you've got 5 games down, you got 12 more regular season games plus the playoffs. How many games can you get out of Juju? I mean, he's kind of shown that with his knees and just the body and his age and everything, that getting through all 17 is going to be tough for him. So what's that challenge going to be? I mean, do you just kind of expect the fact that, hey, you know what, you might not have Juju for a couple of games. There might be a couple of games where he's dinged up. I mean, it might just go with it. But performance-wise, you know, what can you get out of him? I mean, I think that kind of performance, like I said, I'm not sure that he's going to get 130 yards again because even the last time he had 130 yards was a while ago. But, you know, what kind of a receiver can he be? I mean, all receivers are a little bit boom and bust to a degree. But, hey, if you told me that Juju could give you 40 yards a game the rest of the way, I think I'd take that as an average. I mean, there's going to be some weeks where maybe he gets 12 yards. There's going to be some weeks where maybe he's got 79. I mean, I think you could live with that. You need some other guys to step up. But I think the most important thing that was really talked about this week was just, you know, having somebody on the field opposite Kelsey that can play off of each other, because that's not really the kind of receiver that Xavier Worthy is or will, maybe even will be. I mean, he's a different kind of player, but you need somebody that can, you know, kind of be that foil, you know, size wise and experience wise. And I mean, I think even Sammy Watkins might have been kind of that foil more so than even like a Tyreek Hill. And, you know, and Andy Reid when he was talking about it, even mentioned like Byron Pringle being one of those guys. Juju is that kind of player. I mean, I think you see, and Rashee Rice is that kind of player. I think you see when their types are on the field opposite Kelsey, good things happen. So who fills that role if you don't have Juju for a couple of games? That I really don't know, but I think you can get something out of Juju. Like I said, I don't think he's a 1,000-yard receiver necessarily anymore, but 800 and prorated over the rest of the season. I mean, that could still be exactly what this team needs.
The Chiefs could still obviously go out and make a trade and add someone that will change the complexion of the pass catchers group. But that being said, if it is in fact just the guys they have on the roster right now going the rest of the way, somebody else or somebodies else, probably, Matt, are going to need to step up and make a bigger impact. And I will ask a question I think I've maybe asked now 3 years in a row. Why can't it be Noah Gray?
That is a good question. And I mean, my only legitimate explanation really is just that, you know, he's a tweener. and he always has been and always will be. I mean, he's small for a tight end, and I think that absolutely affects his just ability to not necessarily get open. I mean, I don't think that's an issue necessarily, but I think it is an issue as far as maybe looking open and looking available to the quarterback, because I think that there's some legitimacy, I think, to the fact that if you've got a guy that's 2, 3, 4 inches taller than Noah Gray that's out there, they look more open. They look like they're a bigger target than the person that they're maybe matching up against. I mean, I think Noah Gray is plenty athletic, but his career high is, I think it's now 4 catches and 45 yards. I mean, he's just never been that had that breakout game yet. And I've been surprised by that, because I don't think he's a bad player. I think there's plenty to him. But once again, I mean, for a tight end, he's a little undersized. And for whatever reason, I mean, it just seems that taller tight ends seem to have a better time getting open, or at least encouraging the quarterback to throw the ball to him. Travis Kelce's a bigger bigger tight end. He gets the ball. I mean, and for a lot of reasons. But Jody Fortson's a bigger tight end. I think he presents a bigger and better target for a quarterback, and maybe an easier target. Noah, I mean, I think he's got I think he has Pat's trust. And to your point, maybe it's going to happen, because right now, I mean, and especially another game like this with the 49ers, I think the Chiefs are going to use a lot of multiple tight end sets. So that means more snaps for Noah Gray. Maybe it means more passing routes for Noah Gray, and not just decoys or blocking, anything of that nature. I mean, maybe it's down to opportunities. And I think he's going to get more catching opportunities the rest of the way than maybe he's had the last few years.
Matt Derrick, our guest, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, keeping it with the tight ends, we saw Jody Fortson obviously make a catch coming back to the Chiefs. He made a catch on Monday Night Football last week. Why has Jared Wiley not been on the field much and had many catching opportunities as a tight end?
Yeah, I've been perplexed by that too, because I felt like just with the training camp that he had and the off-season program that he had, that he was going to be a really impactful player. But at the same time, you look and you see a lot of younger players on this team in this year's draft class that are kind of underutilized. I mean, except for Xavier Worthy. I mean, we saw Kingsley had the starting job, but now he's behind Wanya in the depth chart. But I'm going to put Jaden Hicks in that category, because even when Jaden Hicks has been on the field, he looks like he belongs on the field. And I'm buying into the this was part of the Chiefs' plan, that for any rookie class, what they really would love to do, and especially now that they're in this mindset of year in, year out, that they're going to play 20-21 games, that they want their rookies, to have a more manageable season compared to what they're jumping up from college. I mean, I know from talking to a lot of the rookies on this year's team, I think every one of them to a T, almost every single one of them will tell you, hey, the workload at this level, even with not playing in games every week, is harder than what they went through in college. And if that means that they're kind of holding these guys back in reserve and not pushing them too hard, so that one, maybe they're not getting into games until they're completely ready to be coached up and they're really comfortable with the entire playbook. But then also, hey, if they're really starting to come into their own in the second half of the season, then it's more like a 12-game season for them, than it is a 17, 21-game season. And I think that their step up as far as a workload is kind of what they would like to do with every rookie if they had the chance. So I'll be intrigued to see if just once we get to like maybe the true second half here in the next couple of weeks, you get to November, if we're not seeing more Jared Wiley, the Jaden Hicks of the world, I'll be really surprised, because I think they both can play and they just need opportunities. But I also get that the Chiefs just don't want to wear them down.
Our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Matt, let's turn our attention now to the Super Bowl 58 rematch against the 49ers on Sunday. And earlier this week, I called for the Chiefs offense to open up the passing game, let Patrick Mahomes be great, start throwing the ball a little bit further down the field. But then I look at this matchup and think, the Chiefs could probably just pound the rock again and have a pretty similar game plan to what they did against the Saints and be generally successful, because this is not a great 49er defense against the run. How do you think the Chiefs offense should approach this game on Sunday?
Yeah, you mentioned the Saints game, and to me, I'm with you. I mean, it feels like a very similar type of format game. I mean, I think that if you're the Chiefs, you'd love to be able to run the football effectively. You'd love to get some, the tight ends involved, and and remember, the last time that they played the 49ers in the regular season, they, as someone, I had someone describe it to me today, they just had, Nick Bosa in a washing machine. I mean, he was spinning around all over the place trying to figure out what was going on because they just absolutely took him out of the game. And frankly, I mean, you go back and you look at the Super Bowl, and they pretty much did the same thing in the Super Bowl too. They did a really good job of neutralizing Nick Bosa. And it's funny going back and looking at the game, regular season game in 22 at San Francisco. Hey, Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 111 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster had 124. They ran the ball pretty effectively. They didn't actually, I mean, Phil Kelsey had 98 yards too. But I mean, they didn't have any problems. And honestly, this defense and that defense might be somewhat comparable because they got a lot of injuries. They're down a lot of guys outside of Bosa and Warner. Traveris Ward's been hurt. So, it's not the same defense that they faced in the Super Bowl. I mean, and that's to the Chiefs' advantage, I think. Offensively, they've got some pieces too, but, once again, they haven't been firing on all cylinders. This has just been a very inconsistent 49ers team, and it's kind of easy to see why they're sitting at 3-3. I think that the Chiefs offense versus the 49ers defense might be the closest matchup. But I also see what you're kind of alluding to in that I think that the Patrick Mahomes we've seen the last 6 quarters was different than the Patrick Mahomes we saw the first 3.5 games. I think he's starting to just kind of get into a groove a little bit. And if that's the case, then he can protect the football. And if he's able to find, who is this week's Juju Smith-Schuster, get the offense going. I mean, the Chiefs have been running the ball actually pretty effectively. Even if they haven't had any big, long games, they've been just consistently running the ball well. And I think they'll continue to do that. I think they're going to take advantage of the multiple tight end sets that they can run right now. And that can help slow down and kind of neutralize Bosa, because if you got tight ends in there to help, not only in the blocking, but you're throwing to the tight ends behind him. We know that the Chiefs, when there's a top-notch defender, and frankly, Bosa and Fred Warner both fit in this category, what do the Chiefs love to do? They love to run right at him and try and take him out of the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs did exactly that.
All right, last thing, Matt. Who wins and what's the final score?
I don't know why I'm mysteriously bullish on the Chiefs this week. I'm not exactly a blowout because, once again, I'm not taking this team to blow out anybody until they do. But I'm banking on the defense to play well. I think the Chiefs. I think the offense is opportunistic. So I'm going with Kansas City 27-17.
Matt Derrick is our Chiefs insider. Writes at ChiefsDigest.com, posts on Twitter at Matt Derrick, and appears on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline with us every Friday at this time. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you next week.
You too, guys. Take care, everybody.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll take a break. Come back. Do Change My Mind to wrap up the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's do a quick change my mind before we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Change my mind. Oklahoma State can beat BYU tonight in Big 12 play.
No, they can. I mean, talent-wise, coaching-wise, sure, they can.
Paul Meyerberg thinks they will.
Yes.
We had him on yesterday for Big 12 football breakdown. He says Oklahoma State's winning in Provo tonight.
Yeah,
with Garrett Rangel now a quarterback.
He is not a big believer in this BYU team.
I'm not either, and I'm not trying to be a hater because it's not like I hate the program or dislike their coach or anything like that. I'm not trying to be a hater.
I get it.
I'm not buying it either. They turn people over like crazy, and they get great field position. And Oklahoma State feels like the kind of team that maybe isn't going to give you that tonight.
Counterpoint. I've seen Garrett Rangel play. I'm taking BYU. I think they downgraded. And Alan Bowman is a bottom 5 quarterback in the conference. And I think they downgraded.
And
real quick, change my mind. BYU, top 3 environment in the Big 12.
Top 3?
Top 3 home environment.
Man, depending on how good they are, and it might be 1.
Yeah.
With those mountains.
When they're good, I think they might be 1. Generally speaking, 5 might be more fair.
We got our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk picks and a full Big 12 preview, including KU and K-State. That's all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Football Friday. Great to have you with us. Hope you're enjoying a lovely fall day in the capital city of Kansas. Thanks for listening on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And thank you for watching if you're checking out the YouTube live stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or watching us on Facebook at WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Wrzinski and Spencer Dupuis are in here with me as well. And we've got 2 more hours of sports talk to bring you before we get ready for Lewis Toyota 580 Preps Game of the Week coverage. Tonight, we go to Hayden Field. Hayden and Perry LeCompton in 3A District 4 action. Pregame starts with the 580 Preps Coaches Club at about 6:05, and that will take you up to pregame coverage of the game itself. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. Myself on the call, Greg Akagi alongside in the booth, Spencer Dupuis manning the sideline. You did not wear your best shoes tonight, Spencer, I hope.
Yeah, no, we do. I shot that text this morning as I was heading out the door. I had my Nike Dunks on, the ones that I finally bought like 2 months ago.
Yeah, you can get away with that on the field turf, but Hayden is all natural.
Yeah, and I remembered somebody that one school did not have turf, and so I shot that text off, and I was about to walk out the door, and I saw the reply, and I was like, okay, I'm going to switch shoes today. Or else I'll be getting home and taking water and paper towels to my shoes.
See, I wouldn't describe either of you guys as being like full-on sneakerheads, but you have both decided to, at one point or another, like acquire some nice shoes, like a sharp pair of Nikes, whatever it might be. I buy one pair of shoes every year and a half, and I wear it every day.
Yeah.
I've been in dad mode before I ever was a dad when it came to sneakers.
I respect it.
So I have not yet graduated to the Air Monarchs, but I did buy my first pair of Skechers last time around, and I got to admit, man, they're pretty comfortable.
I'm all in on some Air Monarchs are sick. I don't even care. I will absolutely someday.
The Pete Carroll lows.
Yeah, I don't even have kids, but just I need a pair that I can wear right now to mow the lawn in, and then I can have my lawn mowing shoes. My lawn mowing shoes this year were black. I didn't get the full, green effect on them.
Yeah.
Those Air Monarchs where they hold the grass stain.
Yeah, that's the real dark.
No, that real beaters, no.
Yeah, when I was a kid and I used to mow the lawn, the first time I mowed the lawn, I thought it'd be cool to wear the sneakers that I, wore to school all the time.
It was in fact not.
No, yeah, luckily they were like fresh enough, and my dad was able to get most of the green off the sides of them. But then whenever I got a new pair of shoes and the beat ones, those were the lawn mowing shoes.
Yep. The outdoor shoes.
Yes. I still have my previous pair of sneakers. I bought these. God, we might be coming up on 2 years of these. Year and a half. I bought them right around when the Nuggets won the title. So yeah, year and a half. So yeah, the shoes I bought the 2 years before that, those are my lawn mowing shoes. And they are black.
Do they stay in the garage?
Yes.
Yep.
They have to, man. You can't wear them inside. You get grass everywhere.
Isn't it amazing how everybody has the same lived experience just by never talking about it ahead of time?
No, that's real. That's extremely real.
Do you keep a bag full of bags?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We multiple bags full of bags. Yep. In fact, we have fancy bags that we put bags in.
Wow.
Like, the bags you like pull from the bottom, you pull a new bag out from the bottom. Like we have multiple of those.
My mom has some. I used to have those when I was a kid. I have not acquired any of those. I just have the bigger bag, usually a Target bag.
You get a Target bag to hold
because the Target bags are a lot higher quality than most grocery bags.
That's right.
Man, I had that in my single days. Man, I had that sitting underneath the sink in the bathroom. Bag full of bags, absolutely.
You never know when you might need one.
Yeah. No, that's real. We get my wife and I do it every place. You order the food, they bring it to your house. You get 3 meals a week. So we take the meat, we put it in a plastic bag, and we put it in like a bowl, like a plastic bowl that no juice leaks out. My wife does not like juice. And that is the understatement of the damn century right there. So, to prevent against meat juice.
Yeah.
You have the bowl, and then you have the bag, which we got out of our bag.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
You can interact with us on this riveting topic or others on the YouTube live chat. You are watching live on YouTube. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can weigh in. join us, join our fellow listeners as well. You can also hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line. That number is 785-272-9429. What do you think about Chiefs 49ers? What are your predictions for Sunday? Want to hear them? Text them in, post them in the YouTube comments, post them on Facebook, in the comments on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, WIPW News. We want to hear what you think on this Red Friday. We got to do a Euro trip keyword for the hour. We're down to our last two. This is the final day of the contest, in which we are giving away a pair of tickets with air and VIP accommodations in all international cities, plus luxury hotel accommodations for 10 days and 9 nights on an ultimate European giveaway at 580wibw.com. Surf on over there, click on the link, and enter this keyword this hour, Jet. Jet. Jet.
Like the band that did Are You Gonna Be My Girl?
Like what Devontae Adams is now.
Like, wasn't a former running back nicknamed Jet?
Derrick
McKinnon,
Yeah.
They called him Jet. Jet is the keyword this hour. It's good until 5 o'clock. I'll have one more keyword to give you. Then at the end of the contest, again, hopefully you, the person listening, the contest. Speaking of contest, later on this hour, we will name a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You, and we'll preview the take trip to West Virginia and KU's home contest in Houston. But first, it's our Prairie Man Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Pick Contest, resuming for another week. Last week, both Brendan and I had winning weeks, 3 and 2. Could have been, should have been, would have been better if Chase Brown and cooperated in the Bengals Giants game. I'm still not over that one. That's a bad beat of the season.
That was tough.
That was a punch down below, no doubt. But we went 3 and 2. Spencer 2 and 3. We had to wait to see what happened on Monday Night Football. The under did not hit between the Bills and the Jets.
That dang Hail Mary by Aaron Rodgers at the end of the half kind of really set up for that not to happen.
There are certain things that happen in football games where you just know this is not going to end well for me. You have the under and you see a late touchdown like that, a Hail Mary, you know it's not going to end well. Safety, just throw your ticket out. You're whatever side of the spread you're on, you're going to lose. There's a safety.
Like super long field goal, like a fumble at the goal line. Yeah, if you're on the over on that game, you're just done. You're done. You're toast. It's over. So our current standings right now have me with a 1-game lead over Brendan. I am 17, 15, and 1 on the season. Brendan right at 500, 16, 16, and 1. So been betting with Brendan, you're down the juice. Spencer still on the wrong side of 500, but improving the last couple of weeks. 15 and 18 is Spencer's record. I'm in first place. I'm going first again this week. Again, the contest is we pick 2 college football games against the spread. We pick 2 NFL games against the spread. And we have a wild card pick. It could be a prop. It could be an over-under. It could be another spread if we wanted to for either college or pro football. I picked this week, and all of the lines are to your friend at Prairie Man Sportsbook. You may have inside Prairie Man Resort. You can bet your way and enjoy all of the football action at their sportsbook in one of their many comfortable chairs, cup holders. Get your action down. You go to Three Fires next door with your winning after you bet all of these. They all get
recently refurbished Three Fires.
That's right. That looked
beautiful last time we were up there.
It really did. So looking forward to making these picks this week. We hope you're looking forward to picking up the Prairie Man Sportsbook. If you haven't, we're going back up there. It's been a while since you've been to the sportsbook to experience a weekend of football. All right, college football picks. I'm on a couple of home favorites this week. Rutgers only laying 4.5 against UCLA. Been a tough couple of weeks for Greg Schiano's men. They got blasted by Wisconsin last week. I think they'll play with some pride this week at home, snap a 2-game skid. I think they're too physical for UCLA. Also, UCLA is flying cross-country. Typically, those cross-country flight games have ended really, really well for the favorite. And I think it's going to end well for a favorite in Rutgers. I'm laying 4.5.
The only question here, because for football reasons, this spread you should put a 1 in front of it. Rutgers should beat the tar out of UCLA. The only question I have is, why is it only 4.5? What do I not know that makes this less than a 5-point spread? Because if we're talking football reasons, Rutgers should kill UCLA. What am I missing here? This is my one of all of our picks. I think this is our biggest. What am I missing? Spread of because I think Rutgers.
Yeah, I'm a little worried it might be poison, it might be rat poison, but like Rutgers, I think is better coach. I think they lost 42-7 last week at home. So
The one
there's
man
that.
on earth who can coach Rutgers is Greg Schiano.
Yes.
No one else can do it.
No, literally, it's not possible. He's the only one. I'm also laying 6 in the game we affectionately call the Butt Bowl, because when you put Baylor's BU logo next to Texas Tech TT logo, it spells butt.
I'm convinced Scott Van Pelt picked that game last night just to get fucked in big letters on TV.
Yes, it's always funny. It's always reliable for a laugh. What is not funny is how bad Baylor is. I think Texas Tech covers a 6-point spread. I will lay 6 with the Red Raiders.
I figured that line would be like 9+.
Yeah, I don't even have to lay a full touchdown and extra point. So I'm pretty enthused about laying the 6 with the Red Raiders. Over in the NFL, I'm on a couple of dogs. First, the Detroit Lions, 1.5-point underdogs at Minnesota. I do not understand this. I know Aiden Hutchinson is a big, big miss for Detroit, but Detroit is the better team. I know Minnesota's undefeated from home. Detroit is the better team. I think they're going to win this game. I will gladly take a 1.5 there. I'll also take a 1.5 at home against the Jets. Russell Wilson is back. It's not like Justin Fields set the bar that high with his play on offense. I think the Steelers are going to be roughly the same team they were. And a chance for a little bit of a higher team because a little bit of higher work, Russell Wilson's a better player. It gives you maybe a little bit more upside in the passing. So I like Pittsburgh as a home ball against the Jets. My wild card pick, I'm going to take the highest total we've seen and probably will see in college football this year and go over. But I am I chickened out on taking the over between New Mexico and Utah State. The total is 78.
That rules.
And I was going to ride the Lightning, but I chickened out. Instead, New Mexico's offense is legitimately good. Neither team's defense is good. But I worry about Utah State tripping and falling all over itself. I don't worry about that with New Mexico. I've got their I have New Mexico scoring over 39.5 points. I can't believe
that is truly fascinating.
That is wild.
And they have a lot of problems with that program. He might not be the biggest, but he is one of them.
So I got the over team total. First over team total. New Mexico over 39.5. And that is my lock of the week.
Ooh, the wild card for block of the week.
I never do that. Spencer always.
I bet he's going to do it again this week.
Spoiler alert, he did. Brendan.
I was going to say, Dan already knows because I emailed it to him, and it's probably already on the website.
It is already on the website, 580WIBW.com. Brendan, who are your picks this week?
All right, I'm going with 2 large favorites in college football, both at home. USF, 13.5-point favorite over UAB. The Blazers are awful. All that goodwill from the Bill Clark years when they were reinvigorated and recreated as a program. Bill Clark was awesome, retires for medical reasons. They replaced him with freaking Trent Dilfer, who is a football terrorist. USF, not great. I still think they should pound UAB. That's my Paul Meyerberg pick for the week as well. Also, my lock of the week, Army over East Carolina. 16 points is the spread favoring Army. There are 4 teams in the country right now who are undefeated and have won every single game by double figures. That includes Texas, Indiana, Navy, and Army. Give me the Black Knights by a ton over ECU. I do not think the Pirates have the horsepower to slow down the Black Knights this weekend. From the National Football League, Cleveland. Yes, I am taking the Browns. 5.5-point favorite, underdog, 5.5-point underdog at home against Cincinnati. The Browns have owned Joe Burrow. I do not know why. I do not have an explanation for it, but they have just owned Joe Burrow during his career. He is, I believe, 1-5 against Cleveland straight up. So you're giving me 5.5 with the Browns. I will take it. Plus, Nick Chubb is back. You know who cannot stop the run? The Bengals. So I think that's going to help Cleveland. I will take them to cover. Also, I am with you, Dan. I am on Detroit against Minnesota. I waffled on this one. Minnesota's defense gave me some pause, but Sam Darnold played his worst game of the season right before they had their bye week. So I will go with Detroit as the road dog there. My wild card, one with a player prop, Drake May over 27.5 yards rushing against Jacksonville in London. Tough week travel-wise for the Patriots. They traveled late in the week. They flew out on Thursday night, I think. So they short turnaround to get ready to play. The Jaguars are acclimated to London already and the times and everything. However, Jacksonville's defense is butt. It is horrible. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run, and they can't stop the quarterback run. I believe they are statistically the worst team against quarterback scrambles in the NFL this year. Drake May behind that sieve of an offensive line, probably going to take off a bunch. So I'm going Drake May over 27.5 yards rushing.
A lot of butt in this pick segment.
Yes.
The butt bowl between Baylor and Texas Tech, and Jacksonville's defense being butt. We'll see if the trend continues as we continue on. Yes.
Let's say the Patriots win.
Okay.
Let's say Drake May leads them to a victory over the Jaguars in London.
Okay.
Does Doug Peterson make it to week 8?
No, I'm honestly surprised he's coaching to this week. I am a little surprised that they didn't try like a reverse Ted Lasso type of situation and find like a young hotshot soccer football manager, perhaps, to take over and run the Jaguars for a week and see if his brand of relentless positivity could inspire the Jaguars to a turnaround.
You know what the irony of that is, though? Dougie P is supposed to be the good vibes guy. He takes everyone out to ice cream after they win.
Right.
They have good practice. Like, he's supposed to be a good vibes guy, and that team is miserable. I think he also hates Trevor Lawrence.
He might.
They might hate each other.
I feel like a certain legendary college football coach broke that organization. They were teeter-tottering, and he just really broke it.
I think that is part of it. Without question, that's part of it. I don't know that Shad Khan's a great owner, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they're trying to build a new stadium, which got approved, but then they're like 2 home games every year are in London or overseas. Like, come on.
It's a weird franchise. I don't think I honestly kind of like the Patriots in that game. And I think the next time the Jags lose, I think they will fire Peterson whenever that next loss is.
No, I think so too. They're just waiting for the right time.
Yep.
To let him go. All right, Spencer, before you get into your pick.
All right, everybody make fun of me.
So Spencer, unable to read the far left column on the when you go find the picks, you go find the games that are on the board at Prairie Band Sportsbook. They are listed with their date and time. And Spencer scrolled a little too far last week and gave us a college football game that was actually being played this week. He was really excited to lay 6.5 points with LSU at Arkansas. Well, we're sticking him with that pick. He has no choice. But LSU now only laying 2.5 points. So we will at least be generous, and you can lay the points with LSU. It's many fewer points than you were going to lay before inside of a field goal.
Let me defend myself here. If you go on to this website, I love our friends of Prairie Band. But this website, if you're not looking at that column and you're just scrolling down and you've got, you're doing multiple things during the day and you just see, 6.5, that matchup looks good. Okay. And don't necessarily look because there's no bracket. There should be a bracket that says on top, look aheads.
Brendan, have we ever had to void one of your picks?
Not that I remember.
Haven't had to void one of mine.
Now, granted, I did give you a pick that I thought was on a Saturday, but was actually on a Friday.
That is true.
He didn't look at it either. He did not look at the side thing either that time.
It was the same week the game was being
played.
That
is true. We were still able to use the pick. It was just a bad reasoning for the pick.
Anyway, so Spencer's laying 2.5 with Arkansas. He's got these other picks as well, and I double-checked. All of these games are indeed being played this weekend. In fact, your other college pick is a game tonight.
Yes, I knew it was tonight, too.
Good.
All right. Of all people who should not be throwing stones from glass houses at the moment.
Hey, he did. He's at your ass.
Damn.
I got BYU.
What the hell?
You need something to wipe your nose, man? He just tagged you.
I got BYU favored by 9.5 tonight against Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State's broken.
I kind of think so, too.
Like, what?
That's why I put them in irreparable.
So much hype. Yeah. So much hype this year. They had the What was he? The player of the year?
The
Doak
preseason
Walker
favorite for the
Award winner.
Heisman.
Yeah, like everything for their running back, and it hasn't lived up to expectations. So I got BYU tonight by 9.5. Let's move to the NFL here. I got Cincinnati over Cleveland, a flip of Brennan's pick. I think this is the first time we've had a flip.
No, you've gone against him another time as well, I think.
Wow,
No,
just hates
it's
me
very
in the 4 o'clock
personal.
hour.
I thought
very
we had
personal.
the same pick last week.
No, him and I had the same
Yeah,
pick last week.
Yeah,
We've had
been
some
tag
same
teaming.
picks,
Yeah.
but this is the second time we've had a head-to-head.
All right. Well, any team that employs a nasty, dirty man is always on the wrong end of things for me. And
I respect that.
I think Cincinnati wants to run the state this week, so they're going to win. They're
I would
favored
like
by
to see
5.5.
Cincinnati win.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they just beat up on each other in the AFC North. I think that's just what happens this year. I think it's going to be what happens in the AFC North. The teams are just beating up on each other, and they're either winning games big outside of it or they're not. So I think I got Cincinnati favored by 5.5 in this one. And my other one, Buffalo favored by 9.5 over Tennessee.
You want to talk about a team that's broken? Ugh.
Yeah, like at least the Buffalo Bills, they maybe potentially lied about Josh Allen's concussion. Allegedly, potentially.
A quick aside about the Titans. I was listening to the new Benny the Butcher 38 Special mixtape today, Stabbed and Shot 2. Very good. And there's a line in there where 38 Special said, "You slightly above average like the Tennessee Titans." And he mentioned it as an insult, but I don't know when he recorded that, but it certainly wasn't before games started being played this year, because to call the Titans slightly above average, way wrong.
How many people do you think in the same span of 20 minutes mentioned buying their first pair of Skechers and also listening to a new Benny the Butcher mixtape?
I contain multitudes. What can I tell you? Spencer, get to your wild card pick and your lock of the week.
Yes, I feel like I've had them in here a lot.
You have.
But that's not just because I like them.
They do keep winning.
They keep winning and putting up points. I'm taking the over in the Washington-Carolina game, over a 51. Washington is, I guess you'd call them an offensive juggernaut.
Yes.
They like to score a lot of points, then they don't like to punt the ball. Tressway doesn't punt the ball a lot. In Carolina, they're bad, but like Washington's defense is not great. So
did lose Jonathan Allen, big loss.
Yeah, but they're also just not great in the corner position. That's part of the retooling process. They need a new corner.
Carolina may not have Deontay Johnson, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he got banged up this week.
But I mean,
that's tough.
Even if the Commanders score 30-something points and give up 20, I mean, like,
that's true.
36, 35, 36, and give up 15.
Math works?
Yeah.
All right, so those are our picks. You can, again, read them all and keep track of all of the picks this year on our website, 580wibw.com. We do have a texter on the Top City Metal Supply text line from the 785 who says, "Oh, good. I'm glad Spencer picked that BYU OSU game the way he did. I was leaning OSU with the play."
Damn.
That's tough, man.
Sheesh.
Insults flying in all directions.
Spencer has climbed back closer to the pack, though.
Hey, we're all within 3 games of each other, right?
These
or 3 wins of each other.
6-4 the last 2 weeks. He's starting to pick up a little momentum. It's true.
It's because I decided to get out, not renew my going into the pick'ems thing that I was in. What's it called? Where you pick each week.
Survivor?
Yeah, Survivor pool. I couldn't remember. I got offered to come back in it because somebody won it, as I told you guys, after like week 4. And I said, no, I'm just going to focus on other picks.
Put my research elsewhere.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Those are the picks. Again, you can check them out, 580wibw.com. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You here on 580 WIBW. It is time to crown a weekly What Is Wrong With You champion here on 580 Sports Talk. Two stories competing to try and knock off our current weekly leader. That is Stark Raven Mad. We've dubbed him the gentleman who was seen across social media looking for people to fight after the Ravens Commanders game on Sunday on South Charles Street in Baltimore City. He was wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey and loudly trying to get people to fight him and just assaulted two people randomly. And he was very easy to identify, as it turned out. He has lost his job. He has had an arrest warrant issued for him on first-degree aggravated assault and 3 counts of second-degree assault charges.
He was also flexing after every single time he knocked somebody out.
Imagine what would have happened if his team had lost. Thank God the Ravens won.
Also, apparently, according to his friends, he might have fled Baltimore.
That's going to make it better for him.
His friends had him on Snapchat, and he was at the airport.
Jeez. What a loser. All-time loser.
So that is our current weekly champion. 2 new stories today. I'll go first with mine because it's pretty short. 2 dudes started fighting each other with machetes in the middle of a street in London.
Hell yeah.
On Monday. 2 masked men started a machete fight in the middle of a busy high street. Footage shows the pair both dressed in black fighting gear in the road in broad daylight, forcing traffic to stop in High Street North in East Ham on Monday. You've heard of West Ham. They have the soccer club. I don't know what East Ham has. They were both armed with huge blades, and one swung at his rival before he backed off. One of the weapons was nearly 2 feet long, the other about a foot long. One witness can be heard saying, "Don't do it, please." Another added, "Stop." Thankfully, neither of them landed a blow, and the video soon came to an end.
Funny enough, here's what East Ham has. Technically, until 2016, it's where West Ham played.
How about that?
They were on the wrong side of the border of the Hams.
How about that? So yeah, just 2 dudes showed up in like ninjas to fight in the middle of a street, middle of a busy street, broad daylight, to swing machetes at each other. And they only got 1 swing in before they decided, well, no, not happening. Tyler in the YouTube comments says dudes rock.
Yeah, that kind of rules.
It is. It's a dudes rock story, isn't it? Like, viewed through one prism, it is absolutely a dudes rock story.
Yeah.
Viewed through the prism of, like, children can see this, and those knives are sharp. It's definitely also a What Is Wrong With You. All right, what do you got, Brendan?
Idris Elba, also from East Ham. My story for today, I'm going to build it up for you here. So we go to Florida, where we meet a woman who was involuntarily committed to drug rehab. She escaped from the hospital where she was in rehab and carjacked a 70-year-old man and then hit him with his own car twice.
Oh.
Yeah. It happened just after noon last Saturday at Tampa General Hospital. According to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office, several people called 911 for a hit and run in the parking lot. Staff told deputies that a woman, 41-year-old Lisa Nicosia, had been taken to the emergency room earlier in the day under the Marchman Act, which allows a spouse, relative, or friend to petition a court to involuntarily commit someone to drug rehab. That's kind of intense. Nicosia allegedly then escaped from the ER and ran into the parking lot. She then allegedly approached a 70-year-old man sitting in his car. She forcefully removed him from the car and entered the driver's seat. The victim ran around to the passenger side to open the door, but Nicosia allegedly took off in the car, causing the victim to get trapped under the rear passenger wheel well. Nicosia then continued in reverse, running over the victim's upper body. Nurses then ran up to the car and pleaded with Nicosia to stop the vehicle so they could render aid to the victim. But she allegedly ignored them and drove away, intentionally running over the victim a second time. Again, this is a 70-year-old man. Cops showed up and saw the stolen vehicle going east on Jefferson Street. She fled away from them, but then pulled into a business and ran out of the car. She was quickly arrested from that point on. She's facing charges of attempted felony murder, carjacking, resisting arrest without violence, and fleeing to elude. She has not been given a bond. I did do some research. I believe the victim is in critical condition, but not dead. Because we couldn't have used the story if he was.
Every time we get an attempted murder story, I think about Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. Attempted murder. Now, what is that? Did they give a Nobel Prize for attempted chemistry? I think about that.
Funny.
I think about that line a lot. Anyhow, that woman absolutely bats, obviously very high in the process, and hopefully the 70-year-old gentleman pulls through.
Yeah.
Ty goes to sobriety here. I'll go with the guys in a knife fight with each other.
I enjoy that story a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning for today. Does it take down Stark Raven Mad?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think our Brawlic Ravens fan who wanted to just natural way to celebrate. Whom among us hasn't had their team win a big game against a rival and responded by thinking, I want to hit people, random people in the street. I want to punch them in the face. That's what I want to do to celebrate.
Normally when that happens for me, I just spend all night gleefully saying, yes, I don't wish I was dead tonight.
Be normal and get in the mentions of the opposing team's Twitter account and call them all losers and say, like, you just lost to Isaiah Likely and post like a deep fried picture of Isaiah Likely catching a touchdown pass. Be normal. Normal things.
Yeah.
Stark Raven Mad. That's
Let's
our
go.
winner this week on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a break, come back. Big weekend in the Big 12. K-State, KU both play. We'll preview them next on 580 Sports Talk. .442 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer hanging out with you until 6 o'clock. Then we make way for pregame coverage of the Lewis Toyota 580 Preps game of the week. 580 Preps Coaches Club, followed by the pregame show. Then kickoff tonight, 7 o'clock. We've got Hayden and Perry Lecompton as our game of the week. Yours truly on the play-by-play. Greg Akagi upstairs with me and Spencer Dupuis downstairs on the sideline. Hopefully will join us.
I got a question about that.
Okay.
I read this online. I wanted to double check to make sure it was accurate. Does Perry Lecompton, are they co-op this year?
Yes.
So yes, with Bishop Seabury, they are Bishop Seabury students, which is a private school in Lawrence, are allowed to play football for Perry Lecompton.
Okay.
But it is a co-op in the same way that Junction City and St. Xavier Catholic School in Junction City are a co-op, which is nobody says it. They just say Junction City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets Max Preps all jacked up.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does. That's where I was going on Max Preps to double
Yes.
check that I had like some names of coaches down in my head.
Yes.
And it said at like
PLBSA.
versus yes. And I
Yeah.
was like, huh?
Yeah, it threw me off too. Trust me. But no, just Perry Lecompton will suffice tonight.
Yeah.
As they take on the Hayden Wildcats.
I can't imagine there are many kids from Seabury who play for Perry. If you know some, feel free to correct me, but I would
I mean,
be
I feel like
surprised.
there's enough to make it that like it's a thing.
Well, not to get too into the weeds here, but it's also a tiny little Episcopalian school in Lawrence that never had a football team. So, and I think they play 1A basketball, 2A maybe.
Some years it's 2A. They've had some really good basketball talent recent years.
Yeah, they've had a lot of a couple years ago they went like 20-1 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just didn't have any other options. But it's in Lawrence, so fun fact for you.
Let's talk college football, shall we? Let's get to some game previews for the in-state schools as we look ahead to Saturday. The Kansas State Wildcats are back on the road against the West Virginia Mountaineers. That is a 6:30 kickoff. You can hear the game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 on the K-State Sports Network. Pre-game coverage at 4:30 and the kickoff at 6:30. According to Prairie Band Sportsbook, K-State is a 2.5-point favorite. Your total is 55.5. I thought Paul Meyerberg made a really interesting point about this game when we had him on yesterday, that Kansas State coming off of an emotional road win in a tough environment last week in Boulder, it almost could be a benefit to go back on the road. There's no thought of letting your level of focus slip. You can't have a letdown game. It's a lot harder to have a letdown when you go right back on the road because you know you have to stay keyed up. You know you have to be focused. You know you have to be prepared for the other team's best in their backyard and for a tough crowd. And that is almost a better situation than if they were coming back home to face a not very good team this week. And you feel like, well, maybe you let your guard down. Maybe you have that letdown game, so to speak. I might be a little less worried about that happening for K-State after hearing Paul say that. Also, I think K-State is just better than West Virginia. I think they have better players than West Virginia. I think that the West Virginia vibes are not particularly good right now with Neil Brown sticking his foot in his mouth in his press conference earlier this week.
Did you see what a fan? I sent that this morning. Did you guys see that?
Yes, they're going to fly an airplane that says "Fire Neil Brown" over the stadium before the game starts.
Well, that's such a WVU fan thing to do.
Here's the thing. Why are you wasting your money? They're going to do it.
Yeah, like, you know.
They might not.
Hey, if they don't, they get everything that they deserve, everything they get from that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, that was an aggressive response to a very fair comment. Not directed at you, I promise.
No, I know
but
they might not because their university financially is not in a great spot.
And look, totally true. I think West Virginia should know that. I mean, they'll go to donors. I'm sure West Virginia has at least a handful who would be willing to pony up. But like if they say, you know what, we can't do it. Sorry, guys. Then they deserve the 3-9 finish they get next year.
I think K-State wins this game. I think if they play the kind of football, if they are true to their offensive identity in this game, I have a hard time seeing West Virginia being able to stop them. And I don't think that West Virginia is quite good enough through the air to really exploit K-State's secondary, which sounds like it's going to be healthier than we thought. They got pretty good injury news, I think, throughout the week. So those guys got dinged against Colorado. Most of them are going to be able to play, is what it sounds like. So I like K-State in this one. I think it sets up well for them. I think they go and they win this game. They know what's at stake. I don't think there's going to be a letdown. I think they'll be charged up, and I think they go win.
Yeah, I'll be even more blunt than that. I'm not worried. I do not have any worries about this game for K-State. I think the Cats take care of business. I do not think West Virginia is all that good. Yes, Garrett Green has some talent. Maybe if he gets really hot, he can pick apart that secondary a little bit. I think K-State has too many advantages talent-wise. I think K-State has way too many advantages coaching-wise in this game. K-State is one of the few teams that you don't really worry about them not being prepared for an environment. I mean, Kansas State football at this point, they're well coached. They try hard. They always give you max effort. And sometimes you get beat in embarrassing fashion like the BYU game. But I don't think K-State was unprepared for that game.
That felt like just the vagaries of college football more than Kansas State took their opponent lightly or weren't prepared.
It sort of felt like some of the, perceived lucky breaks they may have gotten playing 3 consecutive bad first halves in their first 3 games. Tulane maybe got a little bit lucky at the end of that one. They were slow starting against everybody, Arizona included, when they were awesome in the second half. Those things come back and get you sometimes. And it all came back in the span of 6 minutes. 3 games worth of maybe you should put in a little bit, mix things up in the first half a little bit, show a little more energy in the first half. All came back to bite them in 6 minutes against BYU, and you lost the game. It happens sometimes. Can't foresee that happening here. I like the Cats, and I like them to win pretty handily.
I think that they definitely have. I would be more surprised about a West Virginia blowout than I would be a K-State blowout. Let me say that. I certainly think if this game is one-sided in any way or decided well in or early in the fourth quarter, I think it will probably be in K-State's favor.
Of the 4 potential outcomes in a football game, Team A wins big, Team A wins small, Team B wins small, Team B wins big. I think the 2 K-State. I would honestly argue that K-State wins big and then K-State wins small are your 2 most likely options in that order.
I just don't know how West Virginia stops K-State.
Yeah, I agree.
Bottom line, I don't know how West Virginia stops K-State.
I agree.
Yeah.
KU and Houston, 2:30 on ESPN Plus. We did not think that going into this matchup that there would be one combined Big 12 win between these 2 teams and that it would belong to Willie Fritz. KU is a 5-point favorite. The over-under is 46, according to Prairie Man Sportsbook. Again, I think Paul Meyerberg had it right. Like, every KU game has felt exactly the same. And until they can deviate from the script, which is play really well, have a bad stretch, a bad turnover, a bad defensive possession, a bad penalty, give up the lead late, and lose. Like, that's the script. Until K-State or KU deviates from the script, I don't know that they should be expected to deviate from the script. That being said, this would be a week you could deviate from the script because I don't think Houston is good.
No, I don't think Houston is good either. KU, this is according to Stats Perform, 10.5 points better on a neutral field than Houston, according to their metrics. Houston is 3rd from the bottom in the conference. KU, this is the maddening thing. KU is 6th out of 16 teams in this metric. They're not even at the middle of the league. They're still above because there are so many things that you look at and say, dang, this is working well. This is a positive.
And 4 of their 5 losses are not on their face bad losses. Illinois is a decent team that they lost to by a score on the road. West Virginia, a 1-score loss on the road. Arizona State is 5-1. That was a 1-score loss in the last seconds on the road. UNLV is good. That 1-score loss. That one was at home, and that's a group of 5 team, but still 1-score loss to a good team. It's the TCU one that's the head scratcher. But like 4 of the 5 KU losses are not by any stretch bad losses. So like it has felt like there is a good team deep inside of the what are those called? The Russian nesting dolls. Like the small doll for KU this year, the small baby J inside of the Russian nesting doll that is KU football is a good team. It's just you got to get to a lot of layers to find it.
And that's kind of why I said, like, in my graphic that we did the other day, my tier list was there needs to be a case study on this team.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Like, can we get a scientific explanation for this, please?
They're just not trustworthy. It's not a trustworthy team right now.
That's the best way to put it. Like, I think they can win. I think they ought to win. They'd better win. But you can't trust them to win right now.
And you can't predict them to win until they win.
Yep, exactly.
We'll take a break, come back with On Second Thought to wrap up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. I had a whole on second thought prepared about how I was not thinking that the Los Angeles Dodgers were equipped to advance given the state of their pitching staff, and then they've bludgeoned the Mets for 3 of the 4 games of the NLCS.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Mets are taking it to them today.
All blowouts in that series.
Yeah, nothing but blowouts. Not a very fun series. And if the Mets win Game 5 today, they're up 3-0 after a Pete Alonso home run. It's a bullpen day and Walker Buehler the rest of the way for the Dodgers, and that's gettable for the Mets. So on second thought, I don't have it on second thought anymore. I think the Mets are still alive in this thing if they win today.
Buehler was really good last time out.
He was, but only in 4 innings.
Only in 4 innings, right? Last night, my second thought, last night, final commercial break of the Washburn Football Coaches Show over at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. I was mentioning, hey, come out to Skinny's, all sorts of stuff on tonight, college football. We've got NFL action. Oh, in the baseball playoffs, looks like in TV right above us, Cleveland's going to take care of the Yankees. And Royals fans, you love to see the Yankees lose. We do the final segment. We get off the air, and Coach Craig Schurig leans over to me and goes, by the way, while you were talking, Judge and someone else just hit home runs and the Yankees are winning. I said, are you kidding me? And thankfully, Cleveland ended up winning, so I didn't look like too much of an idiot. But
incredible game. One of the
amazing game.
One of the best playoff games of recent memory.
My own second thought quickly here is I went on this radio program last week at the 4:00 hour, and I told you LSU was going to beat Arkansas by 6.5 points. And that game didn't happen. So my own second thought was maybe I should give a second thought to the left side of the screen on Prairie Band's website.
I bet you can get an alternate spread of 6.5 if you really want it. I'm out of here for high school football. Brendan and Spencer have you for the final hour of 580 Sports Talk here at 580 WIBW.
Hey now, it's the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on a feel-good football Friday afternoon. I'm Brendan Dworzinski on the other side of the glass, joining you on this drive home. It's Spencer Dupuis. Dan Lucero is on his way, making the short trip over to Hayden High School for our Lewis Toyota 580 Preps game of the week. Hayden versus Prairie Lecompton in district play. Pregame will begin somewhere in the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour, about 6:40 or so, following the 580 Preps Coaches Club, and then kick off at 7 o'clock right here on 580 WIBW. You'll be able to hear Dan, Spencer, and color commentator Greg Akagi on the broadcast tonight from Hayden Catholic High School. Should be a fun one. We just talked about this game a little bit yesterday with Rick Peterson during our Lewis Toyota local sports spotlight, and this Hayden team, man, they are as good as advertised. Just as good as the team that played for a state title a year ago. Really looking forward to that matchup coming up tonight. One of my favorite high school games I ever called was Hayden versus Prairie Lecompton. COVID year, it was 2020. We called the game from the roof of the press box. And
because there was too many people in the press box?
Yeah, it was all full up. Had some other folks who were there covering the game, and we were upstairs, and 10-0. Hayden got the win, scored a touchdown and a field goal. I think it was the field goal first, and then the game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. In fact, you know who scored the game-winning touchdown in that game for Hayden, or the game-sealing touchdown for Hayden? Current Kansas State Wildcat, Desmond Purnell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a blast. That was a long time ago now. Should be another classic on hand tonight. Again, 7 o'clock kickoff right here on 580 WIBW. Before we get there and to the 580 Preps Coaches Club tonight, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up here in just a matter of moments. We will also get to our final thoughts on the Chiefs matchup with the San Francisco 49ers and we'll get to some other games we'll preview across the Big 12, all of college football, and all of NFL slates. We want to hear from you. What's your prediction for Chiefs 49ers? Favorite game of the weekend for college, for NFL, KU thoughts, K-State thoughts? Send them all into us on the Top City Metal Supply text line. 785-272-9429 is the Top City Metal Supply text line number. You can also find us on YouTube. Head to youtube.com. Search 580 Sports Talk. You'll see us. Top result. There might be an ad. Forget that. Just click on the channel. Subscribe to us. You can watch today's show, the video version of it. Hey, hi, how you doing? And you can hang out with us in the live comment section as well. All right. Let's get right into it, Spencer. Today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. My first headline for you, it is the Chiefs injury report and 49ers injury report for this Sunday. Mostly clean for Kansas City. 3 guys were listed with some sort of ailment, but we're all full participants and are good to go. That's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Good to see he's all good. McCole Hardman with a knee. He's fine. Derrick Nnadi, triceps, and probably just going to be triceps for Derrick Nnadi all season long. He is good to go as well. No worries there. Only one player is for sure out with a pec injury. That is Mike Dana. That is a big bummer for him. No IR, just out for the week. Hopefully nothing more serious than that. And Juju Smith-Schuster, he was limited in practice each of the last 2 days. He is officially questionable, but as Dan mentioned a little bit earlier on in the show, sounds like he will probably be good to go. And that's a big deal because without Hollywood Brown, who you never had in the first place to start the year, now without Rashee Rice, you don't have, let alone playmakers, you don't have much depth at wide receiver at this point. It's all hands on deck. And Juju, coming off of that great week 2 weeks ago in the win on Monday Night Football, to now have him back in the fold, just get on the field. Just get to Sunday. Keep him on ice until then. You'll be okay for the Chiefs offense. 49ers, their injury report has a lot of dudes on it, most of whom are going to be able to go. A handful of guys were limited in practice this week, but should be able to play. Running back Jordan Mason, limited Wednesday, Thursday. He was a full go today, though. He does not have an injury designation, so he will play for the 49ers. That's a big one for them. A couple guys who are questionable. They include backup defensive tackle Kevin Givens. He's got a groin ailment. Didn't practice Thursday. Did go on a limited basis today. He's questionable. Questionable as well for Darrell Luter Jr., who is a backup corner, but is a core special teamer as well. He's got a pelvis injury. You don't see pelvis pop up on the injury report all that often. He was limited all week, questionable to go. Also questionable, but we do expect him to play. Rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is expected to make his NFL debut, listed as having a chest injury. The man was shot in a botched robbery during training camp. Unbelievable. Great to see he is good to go.
Well, he came back and started trying to practice, getting on the practice field, like 3 or 4 days, I feel like, after it.
Yeah, if I remember correct, because they put him on the non-football injury list.
Which means he had to miss up until last week.
Very similar to the PUP list in that regard.
It's exactly what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was on.
Yep, exactly. And he wanted to play right away, but they said, no, we're going to take it slow with you. We don't want to jack anything up. So he'll make his NFL debut coming up this weekend. That's a very cool story for him. 2 key players who are out. Wide receiver Jawan Jennings is not going to play. He has a hip ailment, did not practice all week. He is not good enough to go and thus won't for the 49ers. And kicker Matthew Wright, their second kicker, is also going to be out. We already knew that Jake Moody, their normal kicker, not able to go due to an ankle injury. He's still out. Matthew Wright, he has a shoulder and a back injury. He's out, did not practice all week. So they have promoted kicker Anders Carlson from their practice squad, the former Green Bay Packers kicker for 1 year. He is going to kick for the 49ers this weekend. So that is your full scope of the injury report for the Chiefs and 49ers. Let me ask you this, Spencer. Of those injuries that we noted, the 2 kickers, Jawan Jennings, and those are really the notable ones, which one is the biggest deal for this game? I guess we could also include the fact that Jordan Mason is going to play. Banged up, but he is good enough to go. Which of those is the biggest deal for the Chiefs to face?
I feel like Jawan Jennings, because I feel like he's been the most successful and staying on the field for most of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Debo missed some time, right? And now I'm forgetting the guy's name. Who's the guy that wanted the contract?
Brandon Ayuk.
Ayuk didn't look like himself the first few weeks.
No, not at all.
So I feel like the most consistent receiver on the team.
Isn't it shocking? You
Juwan
go months
Jennings.
without practicing or playing any football, and suddenly the season starts, and hey, maybe you needed to practice and play some football at some point during the summer and the early part of the fall. It's why week 1 is always so gross now in the NFL, because no starters play during the preseason. But we'll gripe about this again coming
And
up
then
next
if
July.
they do, you get hurt.
Well, you don't want to get
like
hurt.
Hollywood
No.
Brown, unfortunately.
Well, you do run into those risks.
But yeah, Juwan Jennings, I'm just looking at here. He's made 25 catches, most on the team, or most among receivers. George Kittle has 3 more, 28. But he has the most receiving yards by over 50. And besides Kittle, he leads them in. Did you know Debo? So it's 9 touchdowns that Brock Purdy has thrown so far. 5 have gone to George, or 3 have gone to George Kittle. No, 5 have gone to Kittle. 1's gone to Debo, and 3 have gone to Juwan Jennings.
That's wild. Only 3 guys have caught touchdowns?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. I did not know that. And Purdy's playing really well. He deserves credit. He's been playing great football. That's
but he only has 9 touchdowns in the year, and 5 of them are to George Kittle. So take Kittle out of the thing, and you only got Debo, who's had 1 touchdown this year, and you got Juwan Jennings out of the game, so you don't have to worry about that threat.
That's a fascinating stat.
I guess if this was a game for Ayuk to show up and start catching touchdowns, it'd be this one.
We will talk a little bit more about this matchup coming up in our next segment. But, Spencer, why don't you give us your first headline today?
Yeah, let's stick around the NFL. Paulson Adebo broke his femur in last night's Thursday Night Football debacle, which we talked about that on the show yesterday.
Yeah,
when you were gone. I did not watch.
I watched almost the whole thing. I'll admit it. I watched nearly the whole dang thing.
But I had Marshall to watch.
Well, that's true. You had other responsibilities.
Yeah.
Adebo has been really good. Kind of a slow start to his career. Cornerback, played at Stanford, but he has become a really good NFL player. I was reading today, depending on the severity of the injury, a broken femur can be anywhere from 3 to 12 months.
Ugh.
Most are 4 to 6, so that could be the end of the year for Paulson Adebo. Had 3 interceptions already this season. He's a good player. That's tough for the Saints. Also, one quick note on the Saints, too. Dennis Allen, after the game, said he's not worried about his job security. Oh, really? Is that because you already know you're getting canned, dude? Is there a coach that gives you any less confidence? Is he the coach who instills the least amount of confidence of all 32 in the league?
Yeah.
Like, at least Doug Peterson and those bad vibes in Jacksonville, at least you can say, well, I want a ring. Like, you can win a title with me. What has Dennis Allen ever done? At least as a head coach. Yeah, that's good luck.
I mean, I guess like Antonio Pierce, like the Raiders aren't a great vibe right now, but he's young and he's still learning how to be a head coach.
And at least people bought into him. Like, hey, he's got energy. He fires us up. Defense, man ball. Like, at least there's something. Dennis Allen is not only bad, he's also boring, which is not good for them.
Yeah. As we continue down here, Malik Neighbors, who missed the last 2 weeks due to a concussion and was listed this week with a groin injury. He's off the injury report. He's good to go Saturday. One note about him is that he says he doesn't remember the concussion, unfortunately.
That's not great.
No.
Not especially good for anyone, but certainly a young player as well. But also, that's probably would have been a good sign for him. Like, hey, dude, maybe don't go to a Travis Scott concert while you're recovering from this.
That was a little messed up. But.
Okay, I have to ask you about Malik Neighbors as well. I didn't know this was a thing until I was listening to a podcast this morning, actually, on my way into work. Where do you stand on Malik Neighbors not wearing any team gear while on the sidelines the last 2 weeks? He's been with the team. He's been on the sidelines during games, but he has not worn any team gear. Nothing that says Giants on it. He's just been, swagged out in whatever his regular outfit was. Are you cool with that? Or are you saying if you're with the team, you got to be wearing team stuff?
I mean, like, they give you all this free stuff, so why don't you wear it? Like, they give it to you to wear on the sidelines when you're not playing. They give it to you to wear around the building. They give it to you to wear to your media availability during the week. Wear it. They give it to you for a reason, right?
That's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah.
Like, it's clothes in the long run doesn't really matter, but I thought it was interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently some Giants fans are fired up about it.
Some more injury. Good things though for the Bills. James Cook, running back, defensive tackle Ed Oliver, Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, linebacker Terrell Bernard, cornerback Teron Johnson, and wide receiver Mac Hollins. They're all expected to play this week against the Titans, so not as bad of an injury outlook for them. Devon Achane cleared concussion protocol. He's good to go Sunday. The Eagles have ruled out Dallas Goedert with a hamstring injury against the Giants, and as well as Jordan, I don't know how to say Mailata, but bad injury news for Jordan Mailata. They've placed him on the injured reserve.
Yeah, that's tough. He's so good.
Yeah.
He is such a good player. That's tough. That's really tough.
And it looks like Anthony Richardson will start Sunday for the Colts versus the Dolphins.
I might just stick with Flacco.
Yeah,
Like, I completely understand why the Colts are playing Richardson. And I mean, I hate to say this because it's kind of crass, but odds are he's probably going to get banged up again at some point this year. But Flacco is playing great football.
Exactly.
I
mean, just like in Cleveland, they wouldn't even give him a contract offer.
So dumb.
But I mean,
dude.
I guess the optics is that you really couldn't, right? You've paid this guy.
Well, because then too, every time Watson has a bad throw, which is almost all of them.
Yes.
We'll put Flacco in.
Yeah.
Well, no, we can't do I get it, but I hate it that Cleveland didn't even not even to offer him the pity contract.
Yeah. Not even to offer him like a low ball offer just to say that they offered him.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Next headline for you.
All right, let's go to college basketball. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't know how much you guys got to it in headlines, but I know it came up. Tony Bennett, the longtime head coach of Virginia, and until last season, he was also the last coach to take Washington State to the NCAA tournament. He abruptly announced his retirement after signing a new contract extension just 4 months ago that would have taken him through the 2030 season at the University of Virginia. His assistant, and I need to double check the first name. I know his last name is Sanchez. Ron Sanchez, longtime assistant for Tony Bennett, left to become the head coach at Charlotte. Then this offseason actually stepped down and rejoined the staff at Virginia. That might have been last year, actually. Excuse me. But he recently...
Yeah, it was last summer.
Thank you. Resigned his previous job, went back to Virginia as an associate head coach. He is going to take over the full-time control of the program. Keep that in mind. But if we can get audio on this computer, Spencer, I want you to hear this response from Tony Bennett today, talking about why he feels like this is the time for him to get out of the game. This is, again, Tony Bennett talking about his retirement and why today.
You know, this game, I think it's right for players, student athletes to receive revenue. Please don't mistake me. I do. I think it is. But the game and college athletics is not in a healthy spot. It's not. And there needs to be change. And it's not going to go back. I think I was equipped to do the job here the old way. And that's who I am. And that's how it was. And my staff has buoyed me along to get to this point. But there needs to be change. It's going to be closer to a professional model, Coach Carlisle. I think it is, where there's got to be collective bargaining. There has to be a restriction on the salary pool that teams can spend. There has to be transfer regulation restrictions. There has to be some limits on the agent involvement to these young guys. And there are good agents and there are bad agents, and they're driving some of this stuff that we're in. And I worry a lot about the mental health of the student athletes as all this stuff comes down. And it's sometimes when you're in it, you have to step away, and maybe I can be an advocate for the student athletes and the coaches to get the changes. But this is a place that will.
All right. So that's the functional end of the clip there. I would like to begin. I'm going to do the build up and tear down here, Spencer. I would like to begin by saying I understand the commentary about the fact that for coaches, football and basketball and other sports too, you don't get off time. There is no time off. You are working, aside from the dead periods when you're still, working the phones or whatever, you are working pretty much 52 weeks a year. And I understand that it is a full-time job and that it is very different I get all of that. But you cannot convince me that this is not a guy running from the grind. And I know we use that phrase as a joke on this show, and I know people who use it online use it often in a fairly joking manner. Adapt. Dude, you are getting paid a freakish amount of money. Just find a way to adapt. The great ones do. It is doable to win. It's not like, well, I can't win anymore. That's a reflection of you, brother. There are problems, sure. There are things that could be retooled in college athletics, sure. I understand some of the complaints, both from fans, from coaches, even from players. I can at least understand the rationale for some of it. But this just sounds cowardly to me, man. Find a way to figure out. You're 55 years old. It's not like you're 85. It's not like you don't have the energy to do it anymore, man. I just think that the response from Bennett specifically, because he hasn't been doing it as long as some of these other guys, even though he is a true basketball lifer. His dad was a longtime coach. But from Roy and Coach K and Saban to a degree and Jay Wright to a degree, like, well, why? I don't like this, so I'm quitting. Okay, I just don't feel. I feel like, to me, it's talking out of both sides of your mouth. Like, all these guys always talk about, it's about the athlete. And I want to be I want to be an advocate for the players. And you're going to do that by leaving? After, by the way, Spencer, you just screwed over your whole roster. Kids who transferred in, kids who you recruited, who believed when you signed a new contract in June that you were going to coach them in 24-25. And now you're going to pull the rug out from under them? And they get 30 days to
that's
to
what I was
transfer.
going to say. So even then, like, it screws them because they miss a half a season of college basketball.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't become eligible at your next school until the end of the semester.
Yes, exactly. You screwed your kids, Tony Bennett. You screwed them. I don't sugarcoat it with any, well, I wanted it to be a soft transition. You screwed them.
If he did this during the summer, right?
Yes,
They would
have
at least
time
have
to go
some
enroll
time.
somewhere.
Yeah.
They're losing half a season to do this transfer. And to also manipulate it so that your guy gets the job, you can think Ron Sanchez is great. Maybe Ron Sanchez goes out and wins 4 national titles for Virginia, is a Hall of Famer. Great. Awesome. This is ridiculous. To sandbag Virginia for months just to make this plan all work out and keep the kids there and all that, I think it sucks. I think Tony Bennett, by all accounts, is a great dude, and that might be true. What he did here, I think, sucks, and I think he's acting cowardly. Whatever you think about NIL rights and transfer portal and everything, I think it sucks to put these kids in this spot. You promised them you were going to coach them this season, and then 2 weeks before exhibition play begins, you back out. It's cowardly. That's what it is.
Also, will he be remembered? Like, he's literally having himself remembered as that coach that took his team. That's a perennial NCAA tournament team, correct?
Yes.
That took his team and couldn't score, but like what? How many single digits in an hour of prolapse time? Prolapse time? Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Like,
yes.
Like, is he going to be remembered as that's his final coaching game in college basketball?
It sure might. I think Tyler gets this perfect on the YouTube comments. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. You can hang out in the comments with us, watch live as well. Tyler says, seems like it's a power and control thing. These guys lose the power over people, and they lose their daily kicks they get out of that. I think that's entirely true. And find a way to adapt. If you really care that much, find a way to adapt. Self does it. Oates does it. Drew does it. Hell, Baylor is in a better spot than ever, and Scott Drew was already a Hall of Famer before this era for what he's done there. You can find Gonzaga keeps winning. Few keeps winning. That's why I think it's cowardly, and I think it's running from the grind. Any more headlines for us for you?
Are we ready for a specific thing that happens at the end of?
Let's do it.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
Maybe not the smoothest segue we've done, but good enough. All right, let's get to the NLCS first, because Game 5 of the NLCS is going on right now at Citi Field in New York, and the Mets are just hammering the Dodgers 8-2 in the top of the fourth inning. And Jack Flaherty just got destroyed. He had 3 innings, all 8 runs, 4 walks, no strikeouts. He was getting plastered by the Mets today. They're up 8-2. The Dodgers won last night, so 3-1 is the series difference. Obviously, why we are in Game 5. Dan said he thinks that this might turn things around. Do you think the Mets are going to come back and win this series?
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the Dodgers just have the at any moment thing that like they're down and out. But like, what inning are we in?
We are in the 4th inning.
And what's the score?
8-2.
It's not over with those hitters.
Okay. I like it. I like the fire.
I don't think it's over today with those hitters that the Dodgers have. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just hard to predict that, but I do think there's a little, maybe a little something in there about having a New York, whatever, Subway
Series. Yeah.
Subway Series for the World Series. I think there's something in the water at the MLB's headquarters.
It's a caucus. I think the Mets will hang on today. I do think the Dodgers will win. I think Game 6, it'll go back to Chavez Ravine. I think the Dodgers get it done at home in 6. As for the American League Championship Series, the Guardians were up most of the game last night against the Yankees. Blew it late, then came back. The big home run by John Kenzie Noel. Then, in the end, they are able to somehow pull off the miraculous victory to stave off a 3-0 deficit. The Yankees lead 2-1. Game 4 tonight in Cleveland. Gavin Williams for the Guardians. Luis Gil for the Yankees. Are you taking the Yankees to still win the series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I will say that this one goes, you know what? I'll say this one goes 6 as well. I think the Yankees and the Dodgers each win their series in 6 games, but I think that's how the season comes to an end. We get Dodgers, Yankees, coast to coast, the 2 biggest spenders in baseball for the World Series. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that. At this point, everyone but Cleveland is a big spender, so we're going to get one of those teams one way or the other. That does it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, we've got our final thoughts on Chiefs versus 49ers. We've also got our NFL weekend preview, and we will get to the most interesting games remaining on the Big 12 slate. We already talked KU and K-State. What about the other games in the Big 12? We'll talk about all that coming up on the other side of this break here on 580 Sports Talk. 5:34 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis with you in studio, wrapping up this Football Friday. Dan Lucero is over at Hayden High School for tonight's Lewis Toyota 580 Preps Game of the Week. Hayden versus Prairie Lecompton, 7 o'clock kickoff. Pregame will begin at about 6:40 following the 580 Preps Coaches Club here on 580 WIBW. Tomorrow, we've got K-State football on our airwaves here on 580. Sunday, here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, we'll have Chiefs football in the afternoon, 2 o'clock pregame, 3:25 kickoff for the Super Bowl 58 rematch, Super Bowl 54 rematch as well between the Chiefs and the 49ers. And don't forget that tomorrow over on our sister station, Country 106.9, yours truly, along with Fletcher Terrell and Trenton Craxner, will be on the call for Washburn Ichabod's football. Bods versus Missouri Southern. The Lions come to Yager Stadium to take on the Ichabods. Pregame at 12:30, kickoff at 1 o'clock tomorrow over on Country 106.9. Big opportunity for the Ichabods. Tough loss last week on the road against Fort Hays State, looking for a bounce back against the team that's right below them in the MIAA standings this season. Couple thoughts on the baseball playoffs on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube live feed. Again, head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, subscribe while you are there. You can hang out with us in the live video and comment section today. Jason makes a comment that whether you get Yankees versus Mets or Yankees versus Dodgers, you end up with an NL team that has New York ties as well. Obviously, Yankees, Mets, you have the Subway Series, but the Dodgers, of course, formerly from Brooklyn, as we all know from baseball history. Also asks us what would be the most interesting World Series. I think Mark's got a good point. It is hard to beat getting the biggest stars on the biggest stage. And I want Ohtani in the World Series, man. I know that's such a meathead national sports TV. We got to have stars. That's a major cowherd kind of comment.
Ohtani versus Judge.
You get the two best players in baseball this year. You get the two MVPs going head to head. And I know they don't play against each other, but
they could
if Ohtani was pitching.
If Ohtani was healthy enough to pitch.
That's a fair point. Now I really wish we were getting that, but that's
maybe next
series.
Year.
That's what I'm rooting for. I think that would bring us the most entertainment. Also, a comment from Mark B over on YouTube. I'm agnostic on who I want in this one. Can't feel good about either team when they're both fat cat spenders. That applies to the Dodgers versus the Mets. It also applies to either of them taking on the Yankees should the Yankees end up beating the Guardians. This topic comes up every year when a small market, smaller spending team that's fun and good gets knocked out of the postseason. And we've seen it a ton for, just our eyes seeing it in the YouTube comments on the text line. We've heard people say it to us about the Royals that, now it sucks. The Royals get eliminated by the Yankees. The Royals are doing this with one superstar player who was already a homegrown guy. The Yankees can go buy whoever they want. They went out and got Soto, and they paid the big contract to Judge, and they pay big money, even though he's not playing well, to Anthony Rizzo, and then to Garrett Cole, and these other pitchers. It's different sports. It's why we always get the salary cap conversation, which, for what it's worth, I don't think is ever going to happen in Major League Baseball. I don't think the owners would approve of that, to be completely honest, or the Players Association.
Because when you have a salary cap, you have to have a salary floor.
Yep.
And they're never going to do that.
No, the Bob Nuttings of the world and the Artie Morenos and sometimes the Lerner family, they are never going to go for that. Absolutely not. Real quick, let's get to some college football here. Appreciate all the interaction with the baseball playoffs over on our YouTube feed and all of y'all in the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. All right, Spencer, let's take out KU. Let's take out K-State. Did you pick KU, by the way, or did you pick Houston for this weekend? I know we're all picking K-State.
I didn't make a pick.
Well, who's your pick?
I can't. I said it earlier. I said I can't pick KU until they give me a reason to pick them.
I know.
So I guess Houston.
On paper, I think KU is a better team. The advanced metrics, Tracer and SP Plus and FBI, and if you're into those numbers, all of them, they say Kansas. They say Kansas to win on the spread. They say Kansas to win straight up. Take the Jayhawks. I can't trust them, man. It kills me, but I cannot trust this team right now, and it breaks my heart, but good Lord, it has been brutal. So outside of those two games, outside of the in-state teams, what is your most interesting game on the Big 12 slate this week? Finally, we get almost everybody involved. We've had so many bye weeks the last few weeks with the double bye this year. I was wondering if you might go with tonight's game since you put it in your 580 Sports Talk Prairie Band picks.
Yeah.
Although you picked BYU to cover a nearly 10-point spread, so maybe you don't find that one that interesting.
I don't. I think the most interesting game might be Colorado, Arizona.
That's a good pick.
I think to see if Colorado can bounce back after last week. And I believe Hunter's going to play, or it's leaning towards that way.
I am under the assumption he is going to play.
How much will he play, though? That's the question. Will they go full tilt, or will they throttle him back a little bit? I don't know, but I think that could be the most intriguing game because Arizona's frisky team.
Yeah, they're frisky. I would agree with that. I mean, Fafita is really talented. I think Teteroa McMillan's the best wide receiver in college football this year. But no, I would agree with that. It probably, in terms of Hunter's usage, depends on how the game goes. I mean, if Colorado goes up 21-3 at the half or something, you can probably ease back and not use them a bunch. They often don't do that, even in games when they're up big. But given that he's dealing with some injuries and how important he is to this program, I feel like you probably have to. Should they be up or down by a lot at any point against Arizona. There's a few that interest me. That game is definitely on the list. I think Oklahoma State, that's kind of loser leaves town in that game. Yeah. I mean, if they can't beat BYU, I know it's on the road. I know it's at night. Provo is going to be going bananas like it always does. I love that scene out in Utah. But I think BYU is going to end up winning that game. So that one at least has some intrigue for me. I'm going to go with a weird one for you, though. Arizona State at Cincinnati. Major measuring stick game, I think, for these two teams. It feels kind of like the are we for real game. And I feel like whoever ends up winning, unless we get a 6-3 slop fest, I think whoever ends up winning, you feel a lot more comfortable that what we've seen from them so far is for real. Now, it sucks for Arizona State that they're not going to have Sam Leavitt out there at quarterback, who has been way better than I expected him to be this year. I mean, leagues better than I expected when he transferred into Arizona State from Michigan State. They got to go with Jeff Sims, who I'm sure is a nice guy, but he surely also is not a good college football quarterback. Wasn't at Georgia Tech, wasn't at Nebraska either. That makes me a little bit worried for Arizona State, even with how good Cam Scadaboo has been this year. So that's a big one for me because on the flip side, Cincinnati is still coached by Scott Satterfield. And as long as he's coaching, I'm not really going to believe in a Bearcats team. So that one I think has a lot of intrigue. And again, kind of a prove it, are you for real kind of game with both those two upstart teams going head to head against one another. We owe you another commercial break. We'll pay some bills, come on back, get you our final thoughts on Chiefs 49ers, and take a look at the other NFL games we'll have on this weekend. That's coming up in just a moment here on 580 Sports Talk. We should note while we're talking about everything that's going on this weekend, as one texter on the Top City Metal Supply text line from the 785 tells us, don't forget about in Lawrence tonight. It's late night in the fog.
Yeah, did you see Bill Self's video that they posted on the Instagram earlier?
Yes, I did.
He said, I got turned down for what in my playlist?
Hearing Bill Self say, snap your fingers was so funny to me.
Yeah.
I could not stop laughing.
Do you think he knew the songs or like they've told him to say this?
I'm sure I would not be surprised if he's heard them.
Yes.
I don't know that he's.
Well, it wasn't Lil Jon already there once?
I don't remember if he's done it before.
I thought he did.
I don't think so. Lil Yachty has been there.
Oh.
Yeah, that was back in
Well,
17.
remember, it was supposed to be Nelly.
Well, yeah.
And then Nelly got into a little legal trouble.
I would not commit crimes, personally. If I were to give Nelly some advice, don't commit crimes. And then you might be at Allen Fieldhouse for late night in the fog. Instead, it's Lil Jon. By the way, I'm Brendan. That's Spencer. This is 580 Sports Talk, wrapping things up. Final 15 minutes on a feel-good football Friday afternoon. So if you are going to late night tonight, hope you are already on the way, if not parked already at Allen Fieldhouse, because we just saw some video of it, and oh boy, the line is long, as it always is. I will always remember, man, my freshman year, 2013, that was Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, Wayne Selden, Connor Frankamp, Frank Mason, my all-time favorite. And I remember holding on to a friend of mine from the dorm, from Oliver, holding her by the arms, dragging her through the crowd so she didn't get trampled as people just stormed into the building. And somehow we ended up courtside. True courtside seats, first level. Andrew Wiggins dunking right in front of us. We were right on the baseline. It was awesome. Yeah, so enjoy late night tonight. It's always a fun experience. And enjoy the Lil Jon show at the end of the night after the scrimmage as well if you're heading out to Lawrence. All right, final word on, we'll get to an actual final word in a bit, but your final word on Chiefs versus 49ers. If you were to give me one X factor, Spencer, one thing that if the Chiefs do right or 49ers do wrong, that will guarantee a Kansas City victory, what would it be?
Patrick Mahomes being relatively accurate.
Okay.
Like having a, Patrick Mahomes-esque game where he's only missing 4 to 5 throws. There's no drops in the game.
Do you think that has more to do with Mahomes himself, his pass catchers, or the offensive line?
Because I think it could be all three.
Honestly.
I think it's all three.
With how bad that linebacker group is, even with Fred Warner, we talked about this earlier. That linebacker group is dreadful. Devondre Campbell's been terrible this year. The linebacker core is bad. The safeties are banged up. They've got good corners. And Travarius Ward, obviously Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs. If you can avoid the playmakers, Ward and Bosa and Warner, chief among them, and pick them apart in other areas, I think this Chiefs offense should be able to put up plenty of points. That's why I think the answer to that question I just posed is the offensive line. Can you give Mahomes 2.5 to 3 seconds to sit back, go through the progressions, and find somebody open, attacking the deep middle, attacking the intermediate middle, far to the sideline, whatever side of the field Ward is not on? That would be my key for the offense, is just find a way to avoid their defensive playmakers making a big play. And that sounds obvious. That sounds like no duh. But we think about this 49ers team as this defensive juggernaut. They're not. They've got some good players, but they are really thin, especially up the spine of the defense. I think that's really going to help the offense in this game. And I said it earlier, find a way to pressure Brock Purdy. He is the longest time to throw on average of any quarterback in the NFL. He's approaching 4 seconds, let alone 3. He is sitting all day in the pocket. You've got to find a way to force some pressure on him and take those wide receivers who are depleted, no Juwan Jennings, making their NFL debut, Ricky Pearsall, or struggling, Brandon Ayuk, get them out of their comfort zone. I think it'll be a fine game for the defense.
Yeah.
Outside of Chiefs 49ers, America's Game of the Week on Fox, other games that I think we should note on, we'll get to these rapid fire here before the end of the show. I picked our game of the week, Lions and Vikings. That is a huge game. Vikings off a bye. Can Sam Darnold bounce back after not looking great, even in a win? Last time we saw him on the field in week 5. Lions now their first full game without Aiden Hutchinson, who's out for the year with that horrible compound fracture in his leg. I like the Lions in this one. I put them in our Prairie Band football picks for the week back in the 4 o'clock hour. Who you got in this one?
Ooh.
I think this is a great matchup.
I think it is too.
You get a Ben Johnson offense versus a Brian Flores defense. That is Clash of the Titans stuff right there.
I think I gotta go Dan Campbell and the Lions.
We were talking about Dennis Allen earlier, guys who inspire absolutely no faith and confidence at all. Dan Campbell is on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Very opposite. Complete opposite side.
100%. And I don't like the guy because I am biased as a Packers fan, but objectively, I'd run through a wall for the guy. He gets those guys fired up. That should be an incredible game. That's an early slate game on Sunday. My loser leaves town game of the week. The Giants were in this last week as well for Sunday Night Football. So this is more about their opponents. They're playing the Eagles this week. The Eagles have to win this game.
Yeah.
No Andrew Thomas for the Giants. Eagles have got to build some better vibes. Even in a win last week, they looked bad because they beat up on the nasty man and the Browns. This feels like a must-win game for the Eagles midseason. Giants, they're probably already out of the playoff picture at this point. The other games we will have that we can watch locally. London game, early. Patriots, Jaguars. I really believe what I said earlier. I would not be shocked if the Jaguars fire Doug Peterson whenever their next loss comes, unless they rattle off 5 wins in a row or something, which I don't see with how poorly their offense is playing and with how generally miserable their defense is. I kind of like the Patriots in this game, man. They're bad as well, but you know that I like Drake May a lot as a prospect. I think second start will see some improvement from him, especially against a terrible secondary. He was decent against a good defense last week in Houston, going up against this terrible Jacksonville team. Patriots are a 6-point underdog in London. That's according to our friends over at Prairie Band Sportsbook. I'm going with the Patriots on that +6 line right there. I like them to at least keep this one close.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
God, Jacksonville is just a miserable watch this season. I loved that Doug Peterson hire when they made it, but God,
if they lose, is he out Monday?
I think so. I think he gets fired if they lose, which is, it sucks for him,
agree.
but yeah, yuck. The game we will get locally in the noon window on Fox, the game that I also considered for game of the week, Texans, Packers. You know who I'm picking, obviously. Jordan Love versus CJ Stroud, though, awesome matchup. The problem for Houston is they have a ton of guys who are out.
Yeah, they got a lot of guys down this week.
They got Danico Autry back, but they lose Mario Edwards due to a suspension. Nico Collins is on IR. Tank Dell has not been the guy we saw his rookie year. Their offensive line has been shaky, but Stroud's been... I'd put Stroud and Lamar top 2 for MVP right now, I think.
Yeah.
It's early, but that's what my MVP
Stroud,
I
think, struggled a little bit last week.
My
fantasy numbers would say so because I have him in one of my leagues.
That's fair. And then finally, Sunday Night Football. We'll talk Monday night, obviously, next week. Jets, Steelers, Sunday Night Football. I like the Jets. I do not think I'm not a Justin Fields guy at all, but I don't think it was a good idea to get rid of Fields for Russell Wilson. And I think Adams does help the Jets at least get a 1-week bounce.
Oh, yeah, I would agree there. I think the Jets I think we can see some things. I mean, they got to get on the same page. They've been with each other 24/7.
Yeah.
It appears because they were on Up and Adams together too.
Living together for the time being.
Yeah. Also, quick preview for Monday. If you're going to watch Monday Night Football, we've got another dreaded doubleheader, except for you have to have ESPN Plus.
At least in our area, most of us have it already because of
the Big 12.
The Big 12, but come on, NFL and ESPN. Come on. We've got to get to one final break. We'll wrap up this Football Friday with the final word after this on 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up 580 Sports Talk on this Feel Good Friday. Spencer, your final word.
Yeah. Weekend is here, except for we got high school football coming up. Another week on the sidelines for me, and no dunks on the sideline for me. Like I had them last week when we were at Shawnee Heights.
Yeah, got to be swagged out on the sideline.
Unfortunately, I can't wear them tonight because I don't want to be cleaning them after the fact. So, yeah, got a good weekend planned. I think we're going to the pumpkin patch this weekend.
There we go.
It's happening because Olivia's got a wedding next weekend. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And, well, enjoy the fall activities. Final word for me. I think it is certainly possible that all three of our major football programs in the area take care of business. Can KU beat Houston? Sure. I don't trust them to, but they could. I'm not really worried about K-State against West Virginia, and I do like the Chiefs, even though I think it'll be a nail-biter against San Francisco coming up Sunday afternoon. That would make for a very happy Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. That's when we will rejoin you Monday from 3 until 6. Don't forget, high school football tonight following the Coaches Club. K-State tomorrow at 6:30. Washburn on Country 106.9 tomorrow at 1. And the Chiefs at 3:25 on Sunday, all on the Alpha Media Topeka family of stations. We will join you again on Monday for Dan Lucero, who's getting ready for the game of the week. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Brendan Wrzinski. We'll talk to you next time right back here on 580 Sports Talk.